All right, a major gun rights organization is taking the ATF to court over its regulation of gun sales. The Gun Owners of America is suing over federal firearms license inspection guidelines. The Biden administration issued a zero-tolerance policy for stores that violate regulations. After one infraction, the ATF can revoke a gun store's license. That would include failing to do a background check or selling a gun to someone not legally allowed to own one. Joining us now, Director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, Steve Dettelbach. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act in just a moment, but about this lawsuit, where does it stand right now?
Well, so first of all, it's pending litigation, so I'm limited in what I can say, and it just got filed, I understand, in the last day or so. But I can talk about the role of ATF in regulating firearms dealers, right? So we're entrusted by Congress with making sure that all the many gun dealers across the country, the licensees, are following the rules. And what we do is we have a team of inspectors who goes out and they periodically conduct inspections of these firearms dealers. The vast majority of firearms dealers in the United States are actually following the rules, right? But there are always some that either can't or are unintentionally not following the rules. Those we try to help and get into compliance. And then some, even a smaller group, who are willfully violating the law. And what the law has always said is when individuals who are running stores or gun stores are willfully violating the law and endangering public safety, that ATF has the authority and the responsibility to intervene and hold them accountable, which can include revocation. It can include other things as well. But that's what we're doing. We're out there enforcing the laws that Congress has asked us to enforce.
So I want to ask about gun legislation, the bipartisan gun law that was signed a year ago amid mass shootings that happen on a daily, if not weekly, basis. 1 year later, has that law had an impact?
The answer is yes, it's a start, but we have a long way to go in this country. I just think it needs to be said, the level of firearms violence in the United States is wholly unacceptable. And I think one of the greatest challenges is that people, every time somebody proposes something to help, you hear people say, well, that won't solve the problem. Well, no one thing is going to solve the problem. The test is not that and shouldn't be that. The test is, does it make people in this country safer? I talk to victims and survivors of firearms violence all over the country. They are facing very dangerous situations. And people who think that this is kind of just part of who we are as Americans are just dead wrong. It's not part of our it's un-American, right? It's not part of our American culture that people can't sit out on the porch in their neighborhood or go to a mall or go to a graduation party or a country rock concert or any of the places that we've seen these incidents happen. So we need to have really be open to all solutions that help to protect Americans. Now, in the first year, Mika, we've been on the ground with state and local people bringing cases, and we have brought over 100 cases against defendants based on the two new provisions in the law, the new straw purchasing and the new firearms trafficking statute that Congress gave us.
I couldn't agree more that we need to look at all solutions, and I'm curious about gun buybacks. I know it's just a small slice of it as an idea, but I don't hear much about that when we talk about the problem nationally. But when I was a reporter in local news, I covered them. And they seem to work. And we're dealing with a country that has massive proliferation of assault weapons out there. Are buybacks something that you would consider a good solution?
So there's a lot of different opinions on the subject of buybacks. And so what we do is that is up to, as you mentioned, sort of state and local leaders to decide whether or not they want to implement those programs. They can, as part of a broader application process, sometimes apply for funding. But, there is not one of the things about this gun violence epidemic is that it is really not a one-size-fits-all approach. I go all over the country. I was in Fargo, North Dakota a couple weeks ago. I've been to New York, Miami. I've been to, I think, over 30 states in my first year. Actually, today is the anniversary of my first year on the job. And this problem looks way different in Fargo than it does in Manhattan. And you got to give local law enforcement, our partners, enough leeway to address the problems the way they think is most effective in their communities. And that's what we do at ATF. The men and women of ATF are incredible, Mika. They are literally running toward gunfire every day. They respond to every mass shooting. They respond to all the cases, or many of the cases that don't get on the news, right? 130 people are killed every day in the United States because of gun violence. And ATF is working with state and local partners, but it's different in each place. And it's one of those times where you really have to, listen as a partner, and as opposed to telling our local sheriffs and chiefs what to do.